So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question. And Dr. Steve Schalintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schalintz. I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And, I recorded the other episode, the last one, and I was thinking to myself, I was trying to almost tackle two subjects at the same time. Talked about practice tiers and practice models and making commitments to go into one and making those transitions as seamlessly as possible. But I also touched on what to do if it's not working, right? And I got done with that episode, and that's one of the things. I don't script my podcast. I don't want to spend an hour, doing a podcast. I really just it's almost more of like a stream of conscious for me. What are some things that I'm working on? What are some things that, are working, not working? And I realized as I went through that episode that there's a whole other aspect of this that I wanted to touch base on. So it's almost like part two of this, it's a continuation of the last episode. Because I touched on kind of a summary of a quote, which is like you have to be 100% confident in what you're doing, but you have to be open and willing to understand that what you're doing may not actually work, right? So that's a tough one for most dentists and even entrepreneurs to understand. Like you have to be 100% committed to making your thing work, but you also have to be open to the fact that it may not work. And you might be asking yourself, like, how do you know it's not working? The results will tell you if it's not working. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. You can go, I've seen this now countless times. People can go years and years beating their head against the wall, thinking that they're onto something and that it just takes time. It just takes time. While that's great in theory, the practical purpose is that if you don't measure what you're doing and get feedback, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. So there's a feedback mechanism, right? There's a loop. You take an action, you get a result, you analyze the result. Is the result you want? If not, how do I modify, change the action? Then you modify, change the action, and then you continue and get a different result. Now, I'll give you a great example as a coach, right? So you can have things in your coaching business that are meant to get a specific result, which for me, the result is simple. It's getting clients. If I'm not getting clients as a coach, my coaching isn't going to work very well because I'm not getting clients. So my revenue source dries up. Like if I'm not getting new clients, I don't have revenue to grow my business. Now, the cool thing is if I structure my coaching business the right way, as I get more clients, I actually have more revenue to put back into my coaching business, which makes my coaching business better, which helps me get more clients, which helps me get more results. And it's a positive feedback loop. Now, if I only worked one-on-one with clients, it actually doesn't work very well because the more clients I see, the less quality I'm going to be able to get for those certain clients. The less results they get, the less testimonials I get, which affects my marketing, which leads to a negative result. Now, in a dental practice, it's the same way that you could be banging the drum. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. But you never measure the results. And you realize that like something simple is missing. And because you're so into, I want to get this result, and I know that what I'm doing is working, it just takes some time, that you almost become blind to the actions you're taking. Now, I have to be very careful when I say this because I don't want you to think that what you're doing isn't working and you need to change it immediately. Like that's a recipe for disaster as well. Like you can't do that. You need to be changing, modifying, and adapting, but you also can't break your core philosophy, like what you're all about, what you're doing. Like every action you need to take needs to be consistent with that philosophy, but you also have to be open and willing to change. The clients that I work with have a core philosophy, but they're also open and willing to change if they're not getting a result. and they're able to make small tweaks that are consistent with their philosophy to try to generate a different result. So it's almost like you're a scientist, right? You want to get 5 more comprehensive cases a year in your practice, 5 more full mouth rehabilitations, right? 5 more veneer cases, 5 more implant cases. And you start to change your current actions to get a different result. And you're going to change one action at a time and measure it, quantify it, and then adapt it if it doesn't get you this specific result you want. Okay. Same thing in any other business. Now, if you try to change too many variables at once, guess what happens? Just like the scientific method, if you change an X and a Y, now you don't know which one actually created a different result. Was it X, Y? Was it a combination of both? How did that work? And because you can't measure it, you can't actually figure out what created the change. So I bring the second part of this podcast, little series, this mini series, to tell you, you have to be very intentional about what you're trying to create. You have to take specific actions, and the actions have to drive the result. If you're taking actions, but they're not driving a result, you either need to change the actions or drop the actions entirely. Some actions that people take, they aren't actually doing anything for their business. They're not moving the needle. They're not getting more patients. They're not, increasing their revenue in their practice. So they actually are unnecessary and need to be eliminated. Right? If you are paying, let me give you a great example. If you are paying someone on Facebook to manage your social media presence on Facebook, but you're noticing that there's no change in revenue, or you can't measure how many patients you're getting from Facebook, you either need to figure out how to put a system in place to track how many patients you're getting from Facebook, or you need to drop the Facebook thing. Because if you can't measure it, there's no way of knowing if your Facebook campaign is effective. And I will tell you, I personally feel like, especially with the clients that I work with, if you aren't doing Facebook the right way, you are literally spending money and throwing it out the door. And in fact, it's probably hurting your business. Right? There's so many things that are done on Facebook that if I'm trying to build, and somebody tells me I want a more comprehensive based practice, I want to do more meaningful dentistry, I want to change patients' lives, and then they give a giveaway. Okay, that's fine, but that's probably not moving the needle towards a more comprehensive based practice. It really isn't. And in fact, because you're getting more new patients, you might think that's a great thing, and maybe it is in your practice, but it could be also deterring your business from getting more comprehensive dentistry done, because now you're more busy with new patients that may not be the right patients. You see how this stuff all feeds on itself. It's all a system. So you need to be able to measure things. You need to be able to define your result, and you need to be able to change. And so, the second part of that equation is you have to be open. So you got to be confident in what you're doing, 100% believe that what you're doing is correct, but you also have to be open to change if you need to. And this open to change if you need to is the hard one, because people can become martyrs for what they do, and they get so locked into this idea that this is the thing, like this is it. I'm doing this, this will work, that they become blind to what the market is telling them. Now, I truly believe there's a market for wellness. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't do what I do. I truly believe patients are looking for something different. And I have verifiable proof that that's the case. We have patients that come to us from long distances away. I have clients now that are seeing patients that are 8, 9, 10 hours away. They're coming to these offices because they're offering them something that they're not getting anywhere else. There is a huge demand for this, but we have to look for the demand. We have to find that demand is there, but that demand is not in places that we normally look. They're not looking for, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. They're not looking for $1,000 off of an Invisalign case. Okay. Those patients aren't. They might be, it might be a great benefit, but they're really not. That's not the reason they're going to a dentist. These are the patients that if you want to build a wellness-based practice, you say, well, how do I do this? You have to go find those patients where they're at. And the point is, I'm not telling you to change your marketing campaigns. Listen, there's some people do it incredibly well, and kudos to you guys. I've seen other ones that they don't do it very well, and they probably shouldn't do it because it's probably hurting them more than it's helping them. But it goes back to the point, which is you have to be able to look at the results that you're getting and then make modifications if it's not working. But if you get so locked in that you become a martyr of your message, you can be blind to the fact that you are probably wasting a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money on a result that's not there. Like if I was running a coaching business and which I am, but like, let's say I was running my coaching business and I put a lot of effort towards a specific program that I was coaching, and I went 12 months and I never got a client, and I've spent $70,000 and I never got a client. I would think to myself at some point, like, okay, what am I doing that isn't attracting the client? And then I break down every specific piece of that to find out what the bottleneck is. And if after all of that, I still can't get a client, then I got to figure out, maybe it's the market. Maybe I'm off on my message. The market doesn't want this. I have to be open to understanding that maybe what I created is not what the market wants. And then I have to change, modify, and adapt that approach. And you have to do the same thing in your practice. And if you don't, and you stay long enough in a model that isn't working, you're going to struggle. So that's part 2. I hope you appreciated the second part of this podcast mini series with Dr. Steve Schlintz. Hope you guys have a great day. Go crush it. If you are getting valuable information out of this podcast, please leave a review or rating. That helps me tremendously. And if you're looking to take your practice to the next level, I highly encourage you to check out this free training that's in the bio. I guess it's the podcast bio page, the info page on what this episode is about. And you'll see it as go.mountainskycoaching/freedom. And it talks about the model that I use. And it gives you an invitation to a call with me to see where your practice is at, where you want to go, and how I can best help you. So you guys take care. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlintz. We'll see you on the next episode.